Hello there, and welcome to your zero balancing treatment. How are you doing today? I see. Well, I hope by the time you leave this treatment, you feel even just the littlest bit better. So tell me what you know about zero balancing. Why did you choose this particular modality? I see. Yes, that's actually a common reason that zero balancing itself is quite uncommon. If you'd like, I'd love to tell you a little bit about its history and background. Excellent. So, zero balancing is a modality that was founded by Dr. Fritz Smith in the early 1970s. Now, Dr. Fritz Smith was a bit of an eclectic, and he wore a lot of hats. So not only was he a medical doctor, he also worked with osteopathy, he was an acupuncturist, and he also studied under Dr. Ida Rolf, as in Rolfing and structural integration. So he created zero balancing to be this sort of blend of healing the energy with an Eastern philosophy and their sort of energy work practices, with science and Western bodywork practices. So not only are we addressing the spiritual and emotional body, but we're also working with identifying and addressing physical dysfunction as well. Now, what sets zero balancing apart from other modalities is that it primarily focuses on the bones and the joints. So Dr. Fritz Smith believed that the bones were the areas of densest and deepest energy in the body. So he wanted to focus on working with those areas. So when we address the structure of the body, we address the energy. And when we address the energy, we address the structure. Now, the very first question that I ask in a zero balancing session is, how would you like to feel when we are all finished? This may be an interesting question because someone may have a different answer than another person, and even at different times of day, they might have a different answer. Maybe you want to feel more motivated and energetic. Maybe you want to feel more calm and centered. Maybe you want to feel deeply relaxed and ready to sleep. Whatever you would like to feel when we're all done, that will be our intention for this session. So how would you like to feel when we're finished? We can absolutely do that. Now, before we get into the exam, are there any physical concerns that you have? Any sort of pain? Any sort of restriction, dysfunction? Okay, so I will definitely take a look for myself. Now, with zero balancing, we are going to start our evaluation by having you sitting. I'm going to look primarily at the ribs, at the shoulders, and at the sacroiliac joint. So if I could have you just turn around for me so that I can start by looking at the back. Give you just a moment. Okay, so I am going to be palpating on either side of the spine, and I'm going to start by just feeling what's going on with your energy. So I'm going to come And this is a modality that you keep your clothing on. We don't have to do any draping. So after the exam, we'll go straight into the body work, okay? So just from left to right, I'm feeling in where those ribs connect. We'll feel all the way down the spine here. Good. Are you feeling any sort of pain or tenderness here? No. Okay. Just come back up a little bit. Okay. Good. Just making sure that I'm having a good feel of everything. We're also going to be assessing other parts of the body, but that's done with the body work, so it's not isolated like these few different tests are. Now I'm going to be assessing the shoulder joints, and I'm going to be doing this by taking your arm and passively moving it around to assess the range of motion. So if I could just have this arm right here. Good. And if you could just let me take the weight of this. Good. And we are just going to move this in our range of movement here. Good. And then to finish, I'm just going to hold your arm up. Okay, and we can just lay that back down. And the other arm as well. So you could just let me take the weight of the arm here. And then hold this up for a moment. There we go. Good. And then down. So now I'd like to work with the SI joint, or the joint between the sacrum and the ilium. Now for this, I'm going to put my fingers here, and I would like you to just lean to your left and lean to your right, back and forth. Just give me a few side bends if you could, and you could just lean. Good, lean, and then I can adjust a bit, and lean, lean, and adjust, lean, and lean. Good, okay, very good. So now let's get you set up on the table. So you are going to be laying face up, and we will start in on our balancing. Are you comfortable like this? Okay. Are there any particular places where you feel you need any more support at all? Under the head? Under the knees, perhaps? No. Now I am just going to have you lay your hands on your abdomen if you can, right here. Just like that, to keep all the energy contained and circulating. And I'm actually going to just pop on my glasses real quick, because I'm going to have to be very attentive to these different, what we call working signs of the body. And I'll get a little bit into that a little later. But first we are going to work by me just getting up here and starting at the end of the table. And I'm just going to rest my hands on the tibias to start. And we'll just stay here for a moment. Good. And then we are going to pull the legs up in what's called a half moon motion. This is because we're creating a curve. Good. Very good. We're going to start with working on the sacroiliac joint. I'm going to evaluate it as you are lying down. So I'm going to come underneath here, and you'll feel my fingers palpating around here. So I'm going to assess posteriorly and anteriorly. Good. Okay, and anteriorly here. So feeling around the hip here. And then we'll work into the vertebrae. Okay. And let's come under, and most notably we're feeling around the dorsal hinge and the lumbar vertebrae, so the low back here. Good. So what our aim is here is we are looking to balance the body back to zero. That's why it's called zero balancing. We're looking to support the joints and the bones, and we can heal the body on all planes simply by giving that support and structure. Good. Okay, so we're going to start by placing the first fulcrum. Now, fulcrum is a Latin word, and in English it means to prop or support. It is a sort of propping up. So we are placing supports in the body, basically. So we'll start at the sacral groove here, right at the back. And when we do our fulcrums, we are not just pressing in, but we're also adding vectors of force or different kinds of touch. So maybe it's traction, maybe it's rotation, lifting, adding a curve to the body, using multiple types of movement and force to add that support. Good. Now, as I place that fulcrum, I'm going to just sit back for a moment, and you see this kind of derived from Rolfing as well, where there's this sort of integration that we're looking for. So we will do some work, let the body have a chance to catch up and integrate that work into the structure. And we know that it's worked by several different ways. Oftentimes I notice a deep breath, for example. And then we can come in for a second pass. So we're placing fulcrums at the dorsal hinge, in the lumbar vertebrae, and we hold each fulcrum for about 3 to 5 seconds. Good. And we just move down. And we finish with a fulcrum at the sacrum. A lot of these different structures will do up to 3 passes, up to 3 fulcrums in each area. Good. Good. And then we lift off and allow that to integrate without my intervention. Just waiting for the body to interpret and store that information before coming in again. And how is this feeling for you? Are you noticing any changes in the way your body feels lying down? Any changes maybe in breathing? Anything like that? Okay. Just be on the lookout if you notice those changes. That's an important part of the work, is noticing what is changing. And that helps your body and your brain sort of understand what's going on and how it can carry that forward. Good. Good. Okay. We'll give it a moment, and then we'll start working with a fulcrum at the hip. Okay. So we are going to be on the anterior part of the hip. More specifically, I'm going to be putting the fulcrums in the anterior superior iliac spines. We're going to press in a little more on one side and get those vectors set up. And then also on the other side. Good. So let's hold on to the leg. And I'm going to support you so that your leg is on me here. And we're going to evaluate the hip by doing a little bit of rotation here. So I'm going to rotate in and an external rotation, internal rotation, external rotation, internal rotation. Good. Okay. And we are going to do a bit of traction here. So I should see this in the shoulder as well as the hip, and a bit of internal rotation. And we'll place this fulcrum here. Good. Bring that back. Release the traction, and I'll let you integrate that. Good. Okay. So let's do our traction, internal rotation, and length. We'll add some lengthening. Okay. And back. Good. And traction, internal rotation, and place the third fulcrum. Good. And then we reset the leg by going in the opposite direction of the movements that we used, and let that integrate. Good. Good. So now I'm going to put your leg back, and then I'm going to do this on the other side. We will support the leg. And we're going to do our bit of evaluation here. So we're going to rotate internally, externally, internally, external, and leave with a last internal rotation before we do our fulcrum. I'm going to pull the leg here and get that traction and do an internal rotation here. Bolster, support your body. Now this does wonders for the nervous system. Just let that integrate. This is excellent for activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which is colloquially called our rest and digest nervous system. So your sympathetic is your fight or flight response. And when we're truly relaxed, we activate that parasympathetic nervous system. And that's what we need to heal and to truly feel like we are relaxing and restoring. Okay, one last fulcrum, some traction, and some internal rotation. Good. Good. Okay. Rotate it. Just like that. Now we're going to be moving to the feet. We'll do a bit of evaluation of the tarsal joints, and then we'll place our fulcrums. I'm just going to the feet here, and we are just going to assess the tarsal joints. So I'm going to be just pressing forward a few times here. There's a lot of bones in the foot that are not supposed to have any movement in them. Good. And just like that. Good. So for the foot fulcrums, we have a two-handed approach. And I'm going to be kind of lacing my fingers together here. And we are just going to be getting a bit of traction. And we're going to do a half moon scooping. Good. Okay, and then we let that integrate. And we can give the foot a little bit of a squeeze before we come back and do our traction and scooping here. Good. And let that integrate. And then I'm just going to be re-evaluating the foot here, making sure that that took before we do one last fulcrum. Good. Traction. Lift. Add that curvature. Good. Okay. And then the other foot. Just want to make sure that this is comfortable for me and for you. Good. And get that bit of scooping here. Now from here, the work kind of jumps around, and we will be moving to the head and neck. We'll do quite a bit of work with that. And then we'll move to the arms before doing a few sort of closing movements. Let that integrate. Watching for our working signs. Okay. And let's just check to make sure we're doing what we need to here. Before going in one last time. Okay, traction. There we go. And then we'll integrate the whole thing. Good. Let that simmer a moment is another good way to put it. To simmer before we integrate the whole thing. And we do that by getting our half moon, our little bit of curvature. Good. And then we're going to be moving up to the head. Good. So let's go ahead. And I'm just going to come up under here. And we'll get a little bit of a half moon movement. My fingers right around the occiput. And we'll do a little bit of evaluation of the upper back, the neck. Good. Now we're going to be going from about T10 or the 10th thoracic vertebrae up. Just do a little bit of our palpation here, feeling, assessing. Good. And then there's a few different ways that we can evaluate the neck, the cervical vertebrae. So I'm going to be moving you in a few different directions. So we're going to go back a little bit and forward. Good. We'll go side to side. We'll do a little side bending. Little side bend. And we also are going to evaluate the slide, which is this sort of back and forth motion that you can do almost like a chicken almost. We'll just do another to the side and to the side. Good. Good. Then we can do our rib fulcrums just wherever I feel that the energy needs that bit of support. We can work with the ribs and scapulae, shoulder joint. Good. And I'm just going to rearrange myself a bit so that I'm also comfortable. Good. can do another half moon head to the head here. And sometimes you can feel a little bit more going on. You can feel how it's working. Okay. And then we can do a bit of integration before we work on our second pass. We'll do 3 passes with the head. We'll come back in to the rib fulcrums where I placed them before and add that support. And the joints, all these little areas that help keep you upright, and also, very importantly, that keeps the flow of energy on the straight and narrow. When your body's kind of collapsed in on itself or has dysfunction like that, then we can see blocks in the energy. And with this half moon, I'm also going to do a bit of a twist as well. So we'll add our fulcrum, that bit of twist, bring it back to neutral, and then twist on the other side. Good. And then back to neutral here. And integration. It is quite interesting to know where zero balancing came from, all of its parent modalities, if you will, and then to see them actually in action. You can pick out these little bits from these other types of modalities. You can see that lineage. Okay, and then let's do our third pass. We'll start at the ribs. And we'll work upwards. And this time we'll also squeeze the trapezius muscle a little. That always feels nice with the right amount of pressure. Good. And our half moon. Good. Just a little bit of lifting and curvature. And then we'll work in with the arms. Okay. Integrate. And then the arm fulcrums are quite simple. And then we'll work with our closing. But with the arms, I'm just going to take your arm here. So one hand is going to be almost like I'm shaking your hand here, and the other hand comes above the elbow. And we'll just let our fulcrum take effect Since we just do the one pass, I like to put this one up for just a little bit longer. Good. And then I'm going to do that on the other side. One hand holds the hand like we're shaking hands, and the other one is above the elbow. So, movement there, and building that fulcrum and letting that take effect. Let's do our half moon at the head. Get that bit of curvature. Give you that support. Good. And then integrate before moving to the lower ribs. We'll come in here and we'll do a half moon with the lower ribs. Add that curve. Good, and a half moon at the pelvis here. And a half moon here behind the knees, the popliteal fossa here. Good, and then we'll do an integrating half moon at the ankles. And then to disconnect, just going to lift the fingers and lift the thumbs. Just going to sit for a moment, and this is where our deepest integration happens. This is where I need to be really attentive to our working signs, the signs that the body has taken in all of this input and knows what to do with it now. Very good. Now, when you're ready, if you'd like to slowly roll to your side, and then I'll have you sit up, okay? Take your time and really allow yourself to just feel the differences in your body. All of that. Now that you've had a little bit of time to really integrate in with our work, all the fulcrums, Some people say that they feel much taller and they feel much more supported, almost as if their body is being held up. So I hope that that's something you can also experience as you go through your day, walking around, sitting, that you feel supported. Like not only is your body supporting you, but your body is being supported. So, did you have any questions for me before we part? Okay, very good. Now, this treatment, you're more than welcome to come back whenever you'd like. If you just want it to be a one-off, that is just fine. If you want to come back regularly, that is just fine as well. I look forward to seeing you again. I hope you have a whale of a day and a good rest of your night. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, it would greatly help me out if you clicked the like button and left a comment so YouTube's algorithm registers that it was a good video. If you want to see more of my work, consider subscribing to the channel. I create primarily medical, pseudoscience / alternative medicine, and personal attention ASMR roleplays. But I've done a little bit of everything from historical to sci-fi to fantasy. If you'd like to support the channel, I offer ad-free videos, early access on videos, and exclusive content on Patreon. Or I also have a Ko-Fi link for a one-time donation or a throne wish list for props and equipment. Thank you again,